as you can see, there's not an open casket necessarily Earl wanted it. I'm Audie, I'm the son-in-law. And but Earl wanted to be here tonight. He's here in spirit, certainly. And a few years back, Earl's bigger than life to me anyway. And so he did a little something. And I saved it there at the office. And if you want to know what Earl Miller looks like, this is Earl. That's the right height. Richard was right. He didn't go very high. But you know, the same qualities that Richard talked about. It's Earl. But all is well in his soul. There's no reason to worry for Earl. We knew this moment was coming, folks, for about 8 years. And so we were well prepared for this. And it's a hard thing to do. But Earl would want you to enjoy life. And he would want you to enjoy it. And he did. I wrote a few things down. Maybe not necessarily in the order that Earl would, but in the order I remember. The first thing about Earl, the first thing I noticed about him when I first met him, other than his physical part of it, was that he was a Christian. And he believed in God, he believed in Jesus, and he shared his faith. And he wasn't a shout in your face type guy, but he led a great life, and he really believed. And when you understand that, and you understand Earl and the qualities he had, if he didn't make it to heaven, we just might as well go home. Because we ain't got a chance. And that's just the fact. That's the way I feel. There's very few people I feel that way about, but he's definitely one. Let me tell you the qualities that Earl had. One of the biggest that stood out to me was honest. You know, there's a little squirt coming up, you do things wrong, your mother or dad chastise you, you begin to learn that, geez, if I do this, I'm going to get whipped. So I won't do it because of the whippings, but you haven't changed in your heart yet. And at some point in time, you begin to perceive good and evil, and then you begin to change, and you begin to do what's right because it's right, irregardless of the consequences. And in talking to Earl and Benny John through the years, there's a couple of stories that particularly meant a lot to me. And one of them was in 1952 when Earl came back to Jacksonville. Now, this is after having been married, after having Gary, which is enough for any man. Just one son. But Gary's a great guy. He's been a good son. When he first came, he bought college up in Nashville with a master's degree in teaching, and he went over to Greenville in Florida and became a football coach. And he coached for a year there, and they basically did an unethical thing on his salary. And so Earl said, you know, if you're going to do this, then I can't work with this type system. And so Earl came to Jacksonville at that one time and became an encyclopedia salesman for Cedars. And I didn't know Cedars sold encyclopedia, but somebody as old as Mike Ward could probably confirm that. To make a long story short, Earl quit that job because of the pressures they put on him to sell to people who couldn't afford to really buy those encyclopedias. So here's a guy that's already made 2 decisions on his first 2 real jobs to do the right thing regardless of the cost. Now you got to understand, he was supporting Betty John, he was supporting Gary, and I think they were dreaming about Jim. He then went on and worked selling shoes. He then went to a clothing store and worked there. And he then he eventually ended up in the tax assessor's office. And straight from Earl's mouth, he said, you know, I was so excited to be there. They trained me for a period of time, and then I was finally ready to go into the field on my own. And they handed me a number of cases. It turned out to be 10 cases. And he was so excited. And if you know Earl, he was the most energetic, full of life guy. You couldn't get him to stop or to do anything. I felt like a goof when I'd go with him downtown. He would be walking 90 miles an hour, and I'd be skipping beside him. People would be looking at us like Glenn and Jeff. But that's the type of guy he was. He was a dynamo. I mean, he was truly a turbo. They gave him these 10 cases of work on. He went out, he went right through lunch, got back in about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, went in to give him to the gentleman. And the fellow said, "Oh, this is terrible, you can't do this." And he's like, "Well, I'll do the best job I can, but I'm ready for 10 more." And he says, "No, you don't understand. The 10 I gave you were to last for a whole week. And if you do this, you're going to create problems down here." And Earl's like, "Well, I don't care. I'll give me 10 more. I'll go do 10 anyway." And that's the type of person he was. And after a period of time, Earl decided to do something different, and he began to study, and John Rogers and other people enabled him to get in the field of real estate appraising. And so for the next 30 years or so, Earl was a practicing appraiser, and in my opinion, a real giant in the appraising field. I was always Mr. Conservative, and Earl was always, "Audie, there has to be vision. There has to be something greater than what is." And so at the time, I remember me and Charles Rogers arguing with Earl all the time that it can't be, and he's like, "Yes, it can be," and sure enough, it would always end up being that way. So the man had a real vision, and it's something that I've appreciated through my years of appraising and working with him. And I worked and knew Earl for 29 years. So, Richard, I missed those early years, but I've sure got a lot during that last part. Earl's a great husband. I mean, he was truly a great husband. I'm a more selfish type guy, but Earl was not. And he was more busier than I was at the time. So when you look at that quality, the one thing that I got from him, that he was very caring, and he was very good at sharing his time. And most of us are real stingy with our time. We think it's our time, and it's really not. So I would say to you, Earl would tell you,